Heyo! Welcome back to another episode of Those Nerds You Know. His name is
David.
And my name is Ethan.
And we are Those Nerds You Know.
Yeah!
Well tripped me up there.
Yeah. Thought I could get you.
Yes.
You did admirably.
Oh, yes. Well, I try.
Well done, David. Today we're going to do something for David. What he wants to do. A thing.
Yeah.
There you go. Topic. We're going to do a David topic.
So I was thinking the other day how Ethan in the past did the top 5 people with like demons in them or possessions and things like that. Yeah. And I was like, man, we can do some pretty cool top 5s. And so I had thought of some top 5s that I've kind of some things I touched on. And so this week we're going to be talking about my top 5 siblings in anime. And I want to mention up front, not all of these people I'm going to be talking about are actually siblings.
What?
Yeah.
But David.
So for me, what it is there are people in a show together that gained a connection like unto brother and sister, brother and brother, whatever the case may be.
Right.
And so if the bond was strong enough, then I'm like, okay, cool. These guys are like brothers. And so, but some of these actually are brothers and sisters. Some of these are actually siblings. And so it works out. And so I have a top 5, and just like before, I have also a couple of honorable mentions that I'll work through at this moment.
Also, just so everyone knows, the reason this is big on David's mind is he's a twin.
Yeah.
So he has another human being who looks like him and has a very close bond with him.
I like families. I'm a big family guy. I like families.
I hate families.
You hate them. Yeah, no, just kidding. Starting up with my honorable mentions. That's the word I'm looking for.
That's the word.
There we are.
Honorably mentioning.
One of my honorable mentions is Code Geass with Lelouch. Oh. And for that one, I actually got 2 honorable mentions. One with Lelouch's relationship with Suzaku, who was his childhood friend that he grew up with, and how he had a strong bond with and stuff. And also his actual sibling in the form of Nunnally, his little sister who's in the wheelchair and blind. Yeah. So I mentioned them because Lelouch, if anybody hasn't gone into Code Geass, I'm gonna do some mild spoilers with the stuff I'm talking about, but I don't really want to touch on them too much.
How dare you?
I know, right? So, but just so you guys know, in Code Geass, Lelouch he's basically kind of like taking over or kind of overthrowing. He's kind of orchestrating a revolution against Britain or Britannia, the people that have like taken over basically the whole world, including Japan, where he's living. And he does a lot of pretty awful things to gain power. But you see throughout the show, he's doing a lot of things he's doing to protect his sister and to help her have a world where she's safe. But he does a lot of things that are really like to the point, like he puts a lot of stuff on the line to protect his sister and to save her from threat and to give her a world that she can live in peace, basically. And similar with Suzaku, he ends up becoming at odds with Suzaku in the show, he and his friend, because he and his friend both have the idea that they want to be free. They want to have Japan be free from Britannian rule, and all these different things, but they both have 2 different ways of going about it. Suzaku wants to work through the military and work up the ranks and get respect from the Britannian army and have them, fight for political, we're gonna leave basically and be free from them legally. And Lelouch is like, no, we're gonna take down Britannia, we're gonna fight them basically. And so they end up becoming antagonists for a while, but you can tell throughout their history and throughout the show that the 2 really do care for one another, and they do remember their time as children, and they do miss that time where they can be together. And so I felt that was a really strong bond. I know a lot of people online like ship them or whatever, but that's how a few of these people I'm going to be mentioning are probably shipped because, why not? Tumblr, am I right?
Yeah. You are right, Dave.
So yeah. So Code Geass is one I haven't seen in a while, so I don't really remember too much about it, so I'm not going to go too much into detail. I'm going to carry on to my next honorable mention, and that's one I've talked before a lot about on the show, and that is Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju.
Ooh.
In the form of
meaning
Sukiroku. Yeah, jerk. What a callback.
Man.
With Sukiroku and Kikuhiko, who are the 2 Rakugo performers who from the past in the past part of the story.
Who were like buddies?
Yeah, so yeah, they were the ones that grew up
Gotcha.
during the Showa era of Japan, learning Rakugo. Like Kiku is the one that later became the Yakumo who teaches Yotaro, the new main character in the series, the guy who gets out of prison, basically. So Kiku, he ends up becoming a professional, famous, respected Rakugo performer. And we learn basically from the context, like it's never really blatantly said, I don't think, but you learn from the context of the first episode that Tsukiroku is no longer with us. He died long ago. And so, but like you see the bond that he and Kikuhiko had when they were learning Rakugo together, and they were living together and basically raised together. Like they came to learn Rakugo from a professional Rakugo performer at like, the ages of like 9 and 10, basically. Like these are little kids when they first started learning, and they grew up together, and they have a really strong bond. And it's like, and just like brothers do, they end up fighting. There's a lot of fighting and conflict they have throughout their lives, and they even get separated for a long time. But that, like, looking back on it, Yakumo, looking back on his life, like, really regrets the things that went down, because he really does love Tsukiroku. He really does miss him, and he really wants to do right by his memory by preserving his style of Rakugo in his teaching Yotaro, and getting Yotaro to learn not just his form of Rakugo, but Tsukiroku's form of Rakugo, and inform between the two of them, creating his own form of Rakugo. And it's very interesting. I think it's a very touching story. It's rather tragic, but it is very, very cool. I like it a lot. Very feelsy. So yeah, I'm gonna start us off on my actual top 5 now. Those are my honorable mentions. So I go in the top 5s.
Starting with number 3.
Number 5.
Oh, okay.
So first of all of these, I'm going to say off the bat before anybody like ats me or something, like these are really close. Honestly, the top 5 are like some of my favorite partners in, like, brothers and siblings in anime. And so it was really tough to be like, oh, this one's better than this one, and it's subjective. So like this is just my list. So number 5, I got Rin and Yukio from Ukamura from Blue Exorcist.
Yeah.
We talked before about Blue Exorcist. We talked before about Rin and Yukio. I think they're great. I think they're 2 wonderful kids, and they're twins, just like me and my twin brother. And I relate to their situation. What with their differences in personalities are similar to me and my twins' differences in personalities. One of us is more brash. One of us is more thoughtful.
Right.
And
one of these possessed by Satan.
Yeah, one of us is possessed by Satan, but not the other one. No, I'm just kidding.
One of you likes guns.
Right. One of us likes guns. One of us likes swords. But yeah. But
one of you has a weird rash.
Yeah, all of those comparisons. No, I'm just kidding.
One of you is responsible. The other one can't hold down a job.
Right. So
look at you. Scott.
But no, it was really interesting because they. Again, you see them struggle because of their differences in personality. They clash a lot in the show. And a lot of it has to do with, of course, Rin being possessed by Satan, or not possessed by Satan, but like, he's got Satan's DNA in him, basically. He's part, demon or whatever. Right. And Yukio kind of like separates himself from his brother because of that. Like, not necessarily, sometimes informed physically, like with him becoming an exorcist and joining up with the secret society to fight demons and stuff, but also more mentally and spiritually by like, just, giving the cold shoulder and not talking to him, and, not reaching out to him, and like brothers tend to do. And it's another sad, rather tragic story, but it does have a good ending, and they do end up, you do see throughout the show, and not just the ending, that the 2 brothers do care for one another, even through all the beef they've got with one another. Yeah. You see that the troubles they have tends to be more like shallow than it seems. Like the 2 of them don't really hate one another, even though they argue all the time. They love one another, and that's kind of why they argue all the time, is because they want their twin to understand what they're going through. Yeah. And but both of them, they just come from different worlds, basically, because of it. And it's neat in the original series, the ending, the way they wrap it up, and their connection basically through the devil is very interesting in the original show, and I'm wondering how the new season portrays it. I'm not certain if they retcon it or what kinds of things like that, but I've been meaning to go back and look. But yeah, it's just something I thought was really, really neat. And I really relate with that. Number 4 on this list, you've seen this before, would be Hikaru and Kaoru Hitachin from Ouran High School Host Club.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
Also a set of twins.
More twins.
Yes.
Sensing a pattern, David.
These ones I am not, I don't relate to as much because on a few levels.
The right color hair.
Oh, you're right. On a few levels, in that their spiel. So anybody that hasn't seen Ouran High School Host Club, it's a club of beautiful rich men, basically, that have a host club, which is basically they host parties where girls and female students of the school will come and meet with them and pay to like go on dates with these men, basically, and like have this like kind of like fantasy relationship with this man that they never really would have a chance with, right. Basically. And they all brings a different like shtick to the table. Each of the guys has their own spin on it. And Hikaru and Kaoru, their spin is that they pretend that they're into one another. They have this like incest theme going on to get girls that are excited about guy on guy. Yeah. And so
all the girls
that I do not relate to, but like
the yaoi incest.
Yeah. Twincest is wincest.
Yes.
No, but no, it's very weird, but I don't relate to that. But then when you watch the show for enough, you understand that Kaoru and Hikaru don't really relate to that either. Like it's a show. Like you realize early on that it's an act that they're putting on, thankfully. Because that would oh gosh, that's so weird. But no, but you do see that they do have a story that I do relate to, in that the two of them grew up kind of separating themselves from other people because they were kind of weird and kind of different, and the only people that understood them were the other twin, basically. And that means me and my twin, I think, can relate to, in that like for a long time in our childhood when we were in school and stuff like that, there was a lot of times where it was like us against the world, basically. Like we didn't make a lot of friends because nobody else got us, basically. They didn't understand what we were going through or whatever the case may be. But when you have a twin brother, they just understand what's going on. And so it was very touching, and you see their connection to Haruhi early on with Hikaru, I think, is the one that gets upset because he and Kaoru kind of unanimously agree that Haruhi also gets them, and so she becomes one of their closest friends really, really quickly because she understands what they're going through, being isolated herself and stuff like that. And then, so it's like there's an episode in the show at one point where Haruhi meets an old friend from school that she knew that she was really close with. Or not close with. He had a crush on her, basically, but she just knew him as a friend. And Hikaru gets really jealous and upset because he feels that like she's trying to like add to their friend circle, even though that he doesn't like that. Basically, he doesn't like that. He feels like she's trying to shut him out as well, basically, trying to separate herself from him again, and he doesn't like that. But it's interesting because it's just like it's one of those things that. It's a very good episode because you see that Kaoru and Hikaru like have only had each other for a long time, and it's different having Haruhi as well that understands them as well. And that's something I related to with my life growing up and becoming an adult, becoming my own man, basically, and me and Scott being separated for a while. We ended up growing differently and stuff like that. And it's interesting because there were times where like we'd have a friend or one of us would be dating somebody or stuff like that, and I couldn't help but feel like, oh no, they're like stepping in on my turf, I guess. Right. Not that, like me and Scott, like they'll just never understand, basically. But it's
only I get to kiss Scott.
Right. No.
Step off, young lady.
Yeah, right. So whatever fantasy you have to put in your mind theater, as Tamaki would say in or do in Ouran. But yeah, so that's number 4. So number 3 is Toya and Minori from Log Horizon. They are also twins. What? Twins? All these twins. So Toya and Minori, Toya is a boy and Minori is a girl. For those of you who didn't know, they're fraternal twins. And so in Log Horizon, it's a isekai anime. Meaning it's an anime where characters are transported to another fantasy world, basically.
Yes.
Like Sword Art Online and those kinds of things. In this case, it's a fantasy world based off of a game that they played. And in this world, a lot of things have changed. And one of those big changes that we learn, it takes a while before we find it out, but we learned that in the real world, or in their original world, Toya, the boy, couldn't walk. He was in a wheelchair. But in this fantasy world, he can walk, and he's a samurai, and he can protect his sister. And you find out that his sister and him, again, have a similar situations where they didn't let anybody in because nobody understood them, and they kind of isolated themselves. And Minori saw herself as the protector for her brother. She did everything she could to care for him while he was in a wheelchair and while he was, whatever the case may be, whatever. They don't go into the details as to what exactly his injury was or what exactly his infirmity was, but she was taking it upon herself to be like the mom, and she protected him, and she treated him and stuff like that. And then so to come to this world where now they're both walking, and he wants to protect his sister because he loves her so much, and he wants her to understand how he feels. Basically, he wants her to be protected like he was protected, and those kinds of things. And so it's very interesting that you see them grow together, and they're very young in the show compared to the other people I've mentioned. Most of the other people I mentioned are either in high school or adults, but these two were probably in middle school. They're like in middle school age kids, and they, through joining the guild Log Horizon with Shiroe, Naotsugu, gosh, I can't remember all their names, Nyanta, and the girl's name, I can't remember her name. Oh well,
you gotta be able to believe in you.
The Sparrow, they call her the Sparrow in the light novel. She they gain friends. They gain a family that's not just them. I think we're kind of led to believe that they may not have had other siblings, and we're not really sure as to what their home life was before the game, because not many people talk about their lives before the game. But it's very interesting because through the context of the show and through the context of Log Horizon and the Elder's Tale world that they're put in, basically, you see this love they have for one another, and that they're always together, and they always want to protect one another. They always want to be there for one another. One of them is, again, just like before, in a lot of the twin cases, one of them's a little bit more reserved. The little one's a little bit more, Minori is a little bit more mature, and she's a little bit more responsible. While Toya is like, he's brash, and he's excited, and he's energetic, and he wants to get out there and fight and do things. So he plays a tank character, and she's, wants to be supportive and helpful, and so she plays a healing character and stuff. And so it's very interesting. And Natsugu's trying to take Toya under his wing and teach him all about panties and girls and fighting and being a bro and being a man. And yeah, I don't know, he has an obsession with panties for some reason. It's weird. I don't understand it. It's anime and it's Japan. I don't know. But meanwhile, Minori turns to Shiroe and wants to learn about intelligence. She wants to learn about planning raids, and she wants to learn about understanding statistics and math and economy and all the politics and all these different things. And so she gets very into the written and mathematics side of the world they live in. And so it's very interesting. And they do a lot. They do a lot for one another. And it's interesting because, again, I love these moments they have in the shows like this, where there are situations where one of them is going through something and the other one just gets it. Like they just understand. So like there's a situation where Minori is upset because she likes Shiroe. And to put it in perspective, she's in middle school and Shiroe is in college. He's a college student. And so this isn't one of those animes where that would work. Like I know there are a lot out there that are like, oh yeah, that's whatever, she's underage. But it's not okay. And so he doesn't express feelings back towards her, but he understands that she admires him. And he kind of has a thing for this other girl who is college age. Because, that's what people do. And Minori sees this and is immediately jealous, and she's upset and all these different things. And she doesn't know what she's going to do, and she's going through all of these feelings and all these problems, and she doesn't know who to talk to and stuff like that. And then Toya finds her, and she's moping and crying and stuff like that. And he asks her what's wrong, and she kind of tells him, and he's just like he just gets it. He just understands. He's just like, well, I mean, how is this, just because he's likes another girl and whatever. He's like, does this mean you're going to leave the guild? Like, does this mean you're going to stop being Shiro's friend? Like, he's like, you're not. You're just not going to do that, and you love him too much, and it's like it's fine for you to love him, but and it was just, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's not exactly what he said, but it's how he made her feel.
Right.
And that's something that you really see in the light novel compared to in the anime. The anime does do a really good job about it because the scene is still very powerful. But in the light novel, the way it's written is very interesting because it does put you in the mindset of Minori, where she's struggling with all this stuff, and then like it's not until her brother kind of like talks with her that she kind of grounds herself and realizes that, yeah, like I'm just a girl. And I'm learning my way still, and I'm still trying to understand this world. And we're still trying to understand this life. We're still trying to understand the changes in my life and things like that. And just because this stuff happens doesn't mean I'm going to stop being friends with this man I admire so much. And so she resolves herself to do better and be better, and to be there for Shiro and be there to support him and stuff. And he resolves to be there for her and to support Shiro as well, because they both have a lot they care for Shiro. It's very neat. I like that a lot.
You're very neat, David.
Yes. Well, I have my good days and bad days. So, now for number 2 on my list.
Número dos, David.
Número dos. So, I don't know if you've heard about this, indie anime. It's called Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
I forgot there were siblings in that. Yeah.
So this is the first one I've mentioned, or this is another one I've mentioned in a while, that the men I'm mentioning here are not actually brothers, but we're led to believe they're brothers early on in the show, and that is the characters Kamina and Simon. And Kamina is this one, instead of them being
Which one dies, David?
Spoilers.
You said you were going to spoil stuff.
It's Kamina.
Yeah,
yeah, I know. So, in the world of Gurren Lagann, these humans are given they find access to these mechs, basically. And these mechs they call them Gurrens, I think. They're machines. And I think they get them from monsters at first. Like, there's monsters, there's beastmen that are piloting them, and they end up taking them from them and, basically using them to fight the beastmen, who are this, oppressive, group of bad guys. And the beastmen use what they call spiral energy to power the machines. And the humans don't understand what spiral energy is, so they call it fighting spirit.
Yeah,
and so because they have enough fighting spirit, they get the machines to do what they need, and to give them the power they need. And Kamina,
I like to call it the spirit of freedom.
Spirit of freedom, right?
Bald eagle juice. Keep going. Doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. I have a rival list populating in my head.
Oh, nice. Okay, so Kamina, I didn't realize I was breezing through them so fast.
That's fine.
So Kamina, you're led to believe early on in the show that Kamina is this great bountiful source of spiral energy. This guy is so courageous. He's so bombastic. He's so loud. He's so energetic. He's so powerful, and he's so confident in everything he does. And Simon is none of those things. He's this little wimpy younger kid. He's whiny, and he doesn't understand, and he's just freaking out about all kinds of different things. And Kamina's always constantly trying to kind of trying to get him to stir up this find his courage, basically find his power, find his fighting spirit, try to find it inside of him. And we're led to believe that that's the dynamic, that Simon has no fighting spirit and Kamina has tons of fighting spirit. But as you come to progress with the show, you learn pretty early on in the show that Kamina is just making it up as he goes. Kamina has no fighting spirit. He's just talk and no action. And there's a scene where you see him talking and he's getting everybody excited, and everybody's getting he's got the words and he understands how these things are working, and everybody's going yeah, we're gonna do this thing, and everybody's powering up their suits and doing these things. But you see Kamina, and you see him in his mech, and he's putting all his heart into it, and he can't get the machine to do what he wants. He just can't get it to go. And it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic that whatever it is, fighting spirit, it's not a tangible thing. It's just whatever it is, he doesn't have it. He has to kind of eke it out basically, and he just fakes it till he makes it basically.
Right on.
And it's very cool because it inspires Simon in a big way, because Simon looks up to Kamina a lot, and he like worships the ground he walks on basically. He loves his big brother. And they call each other brother because they grew up in the same like mine basically. They were in like this underground community together at the beginning of the show, and they just and so they were always together for the longest time. And Simon he has this huge struggle early on in the first season of Gurren Lagann. He just doesn't get it, but he starts to get it as the show progresses. And like you mentioned, at some point Kamina does die, and it's tragic, and it's it's sad and stuff like that. But it also really propels Simon forward to understand that it's kind of a tough love like way to show that, or for Simon to understand that he doesn't need Kamina to be the man he can be, basically. Like Kamina says these ridiculous things. One of the things he says is like, people like a lot of anime. It's kind of Gurren Lagann's an interesting anime because it kind of like subverts these tropes you see in anime and shonen anime. It kind of makes fun of them a little bit.
Right.
And like one of the ways they represent that is
so meta, David.
A lot of anime says like if if a protagonist has trouble, they should just believe in themselves, right?
Right now.
But Kamina understands that Simon does not believe in himself, and he will not believe in himself. But he knows that Simon believes in him. And so Kamina tells Simon to believe in the me that believes in you.
Yes.
And it's hilarious and it makes no sense, but it's at the same time, it's also like, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's very cool and I love it a lot. And eventually it gets to the point where Kamina tells Simon to believe in the you that believes in you. Like, to believe that in you somewhere there is somebody within you that believes in you, that believes that you can be what you are. What you could be, and it's inspiring. The whole show is very energetic.
You're inspiring.
I do my best. You're tripping me up here.
Nope, you got it. Living you.
But no,
continue with your inspiring speech.
Yeah, But no, so like Simon, he ends up growing into becoming this great guy, and he kind of like fills Kamina's shoes after he leaves, to the point where you shut your mouth. I want you to shut your mouth. You gotta bring something more to the table than you follow up by whatever I just said. You jerk.
Well, I haven't seen this anyway, so
I know.
You're doing a great job, though. Here for you. I believe in you.
So Simon, he ends up becoming this great guy, and to the point where you see him kind of like, there's a time jump in the goes to the future, and in the future you see he's kind of like coming to his own person, but you see he's kind of almost like taken on the mantle of Kamina. Like, he wears like a similar cape and get up as Kamina, but it's just a little bit more bombastic, and he wears sunglasses like Kamina's, but it's just a little bit more bombastic. Like, he's like, not only is he like gonna become Kamina, but he's gonna like overcome Kamina. He becomes better and stronger than Kamina ever was.
And he's got the glasses and cape that can be seen in the third series of Voltron, so season of Voltron.
Oh yeah,
they make a brief appearance.
Yep. That reference on the one episode that's awful. In the new season.
No, it's not the new season. It's season 3.
Oh, you're right, season 3, when he was talking about being a space
fashion pirate. Something to that effect.
Something like that,
yes,
yeah.
So good.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
reference.
You're right. I knew it was Korean that did the joke, so I thought it might have been from the
No, it's not from the dumb filler episode that we already talked about how much we hate. Please continue with good things, David.
Yes. No reminders of that. But yeah, and so Simon, you see him not only like he learns from Kamina in those ways and becoming the man that Kamina always believed he could be, basically, and he becomes the man that he secretly believed he could be, and he ends up becoming Kamina in a way to other people, that he ends up inspiring them and helping other people that are new to the world and new to these mechs and new to this war, basically,
new to
understand
the spirit of freedom.
Yeah, that they can. The spirit of freedom.
Yes, the fighting spirit. The spiral energy.
Oh yes, of course.
The spirit of freedom.
The spirit of freedom. Yes.
The bald eagle juice.
Yes, quite. Very, very America. But yeah, I mean, when you get to the point where you have a mech that's the size of a building inside of a mech that's the size of a country.
Whoa. Spoiler alert, David. Gosh. Some people haven't seen this show.
Yes, quite. Yeah, but no, Gurren Lagann's amazing. And if anybody hasn't seen it, you should check it out. If nothing else, for Kamina and Simon's relationship. It's just, it's inspiring, and it's very sweet. It made me think about what I would do whenever I have kids of my own and those kinds of things. So I want to be there. I want to be there for my kids type thing. It's very neat because it's like, while Kamina is basically like his older brother, there's almost kind of a father-son relationship with him. That's another one. I need to think of some father-son relationships because there's some really good ones in anime. I really love that kind of that connection. But yeah, so I think this leads into my first number one.
The number one.
For those of you who haven't already guessed it, it's of course Edward and Alphonse Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Oh yeah.
I've talked about them before.
Who are they, David?
Who are they? So they are two brothers in a world where alchemy is kind of like a cross between science and magic. The science of changing one thing into another thing, as long as it has equivalent exchange, whatever. It's very neat, and their journey starts with them trying to bring back their mother, who died of an illness, basically. And they try to use alchemy to bring back a human being, bring her back, which is a huge taboo. You're never supposed to do that. Yep. And they try to do it anyway because they think
human transmutation.
Yeah, they think they're hot stuff.
Bad.
Yeah.
And that's basically the theme of this show.
Yeah.
And we just keep learning how bad it is.
Yeah. No, it's very bad because there's a lot of really good themes in Fullmetal Alchemist and in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Right.
And part of it is that some of the biggest themes in the shows is this cross between religion and science. Right. And all these different things, because on one hand Ed starts off very, very atheist and very, science. It's like, I only believe in what I can see, what I can measure, what I can feel, those kinds of things. And, but then he meets people that are very scientific to the point of having no morality, basically, like doing tests on human beings because they're just humans and this is just science. Like, you know what I mean? We need to progress. We need to become better. We need to learn more. And to do that, we have to break a few eggs, basically.
Right.
And he's like, no, that's wrong. And then you meet other people that are like so religious that they'd like either ban alchemy and never use science whatsoever, or they'd do horrible, awful, terrible things in the name of their god, basically. And so throughout the show and its journey, the brothers try to find this balance between religious and scientific pursuits, basically. But one of the underlying themes as well, one of the major themes as well, is their relationship, especially in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. With, as the title suggests, Alphonse and Edward are the only two, they're the only two that they're the only two that kind of understand their situation. But they make so many friends and family along the way because of their relationship and because of the good things they do for one another and the good things they do for everyone else, and they're trying to protect this world they're in. But they become very powerful alchemists, and when they try to transmute their mother back, it causes Alphonse to lose his body, and it causes Edward to lose his leg, and to try and pay for the equivalent exchange that comes out to being this deformed, not so living thing. And so what Ed does is he uses the blood from his missing leg to seal up his brother's soul in a suit of armor, and in exchange he gives up his arm, one of his arms. And so the show, the overarching story is the two brothers working together to try and find a way to get their hands on a Philosopher's Stone, which is a magic stone or somewhat magic, that allows them to use alchemy without the limits, basically. And they want to use it specifically for the use of bringing their bodies back. They want to come back to just two flesh and blood bodies, and be able to and it's a struggle. Alphonse is the younger brother, the one that's trapped in the armor, and it's interesting because there's this dichotomy in the show because Alphonse he's in the suit of armor that's much bigger than Ed, so everybody thinks that Alphonse is the older brother, but he's also
everyone thinks that Alphonse is the Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, because he's wearing the full armor.
Because he's full metal.
Yeah, and so metal. Oh my gosh! But also like Alphonse is a little bit more mature. He's a little bit more responsible. And that's a trope you see a lot in anime, that the younger brother is the one that's the more learned, I guess. But it helps, like, I think partly because Alphonse, like, he kind of got the rough end of it.
Yeah, he definitely did.
It's mentioned, it's brought up, but he's very selfless and humble about the situation. He all he does is think about Edward because of it. And it's very touching, the bond they have. Many a tear shed in that show, because it's very good. But part of it is to do with Edward in his suit of armor. He can't eat, he can't sleep.
Alphonse,
I'm sorry. Alphonse, the younger brother,
mm-hmm.
in the suit of armor. He can't eat, he can't sleep, he can't stop, basically. He's not really living, he's just kind of alive. And
he's just a living mech.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And so they have this struggle together where they do everything they can for one another, and they have their beef, like I mentioned before, a lot of the siblings do, and they have their tough times. And there's a part in, I think it's in Brotherhood, it may not be in Full Alchemist, but it may have been in the original show, but there's a few times in the show where they're separated for long periods of time, and they have to deal with it on their own, because it's rough for them because, again, like a lot of these stories, these brothers were like, they're the only ones that the other had, basically. They're the only ones that understood wholeheartedly what their situation was. And now, in this case, it's not actually that true, because they had like people like Winry and some other characters that were like people that did understand fully their struggle, understand exactly what they were going through. But because, they kind of pushed people away initially, they didn't understand that other people did understand what they were going through and wanted to help them and wanted to be there for them. And so, but through their, exploits, through their adventures, through their trial and their journey, they do make a lot of friends and a lot of connections, and they do spread this. People understand this love, and that makes them all come together to being this big culmination of these people working together for a greater cause. And it's very cool. It's very touching, and yeah, I'm a fan, man. That's
you're very touching, dude.
Yes. Yes, this is a very feelsy episode for me. I know a lot of people, y'all may not have seen any of these animes, or maybe you have. Hopefully you've seen at least Full Alchemist, guys. Come on.
Not once.
Come on. Not even once. But yeah, there's a lot of good good siblings in these shows, and I think these are good examples. But yeah.
Definitely. I concur with you, David.
Mm-hmm.
But in all fairness, and in what might be a Those Nerds You Know first, I feel as though I should present my own countdown of excellent anime siblings so that we can have a fight.
Okay. Let us fight.
All of our lovely listeners can email in or at us and tell us which one's better.
At us.
So here it comes.
Okay.
First off, I like your list. It's really cool.
He's got his hand out.
I do like. I like. It's interesting when you mentioned this, because I was just like, yeah, siblings in anime. How many of those do I even know? So my list, very similar to my possessed anime characters list. It's just a challenge to me to find some and name them without any reference in front of me. So I've just been thinking about.
I had to look up a couple of these myself. Because I had to remember all their names. It's been a bit since I've seen some of these shows.
I've been thinking this over as you've been presenting yours, and I think I'm good. First off, an honorable mention for me.
Okay.
I've spoken about, and you have now seen, Gargantia on the Verteros planet.
Yeah.
Great anime.
Oh yeah, there's some good siblings in that.
The main female in that has a younger sibling.
Yeah.
It's a boy who is bedridden, essentially. And I think maybe gets around in a wheelchair from time to time, but he's usually in bed when you see him.
Yeah, you see him up every now and again, but he's kind of weak, is what it is. I don't know exactly what his infirmity is, but yeah.
Yeah. And he has some interesting conversations and talks with Leto, the main character of the anime, basically, and helps him sort of learn more about being a human and what it's like to be in a society where they don't kill babies who are born with infirmities.
What?
Yeah,
what a capital idea!
Oh my gosh,
let's not do
anyway,
that.
That anime is great, and
it's a good anime.
That relationship's cool. It also helps Leto sort of learn and see what it's like to have a sibling, because they don't really have them in his society.
Yeah, they don't really.
It's just yet another thing that
people don't have families where he came
makes
from.
him
They're just kind of
less.
He was just kind of mass produced, I
human.
guess.
Yeah. So that was cool. Number 5.
All right.
Misty from Pokemon and all of her sisters.
Oh.
So her sisters, if I recall this correctly, and if I don't, please let me know. She has sisters that run the gym in Cerulean City.
Yeah, I believe so.
And the reason she's not there is because she's has a problem with them because they expect so much of her.
Yeah.
And but that relationship that they sort of have with her is what drives her sort of to go and become her own trainer and get out there and be great and
catch
be awesome.
new Pokemon.
Yeah.
Hang out with Ash.
So that's really interesting to me. I don't remember. I feel as though they must have resolved something because it's a kid's show. So I must have been at some point where they were like, oh, we push you hard because we believe in you and we love you and want you to be great.
Yeah, that sounds very like the shonen anime thing.
I'm certain that's the conclusion that we came to. But yeah. So I like that. That's cool. That's my number 5. Number 4.
Oh, I've got a good one now. Goodness gracious. There's some good ones out there.
There's some great ones out there.
Yeah.
Number 4. And this one, just because it's been on my mind recently, it's sort of at the top of my head because I'm reading it right now, or have been. And that is Tenya Ida from My Hero Academia and his older brother.
Yeah.
Something Ida.
Yeah.
I don't remember his whatever. But anyway, he looks up to his older brother and loves him and sees him as a great hero. And that he's basically his inspiration for becoming a hero.
Yeah.
Ida's older brother is what makes him want to be a hero, which is really cool. And spoiler alert for that series, his older brother gets injured very badly. And essentially, I think he's paralyzed, more or less.
He's
left without the ability.
He's not able to walk
to use his quirk.
Yeah,
which is the same as Ida's. He's just really fast.
Yeah, he's really fast. He's like a really fast runner type person.
And so that's really traumatic for Ida.
Yeah.
And leads to an altercation with Stain, the hero killer.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I like that story. Just a sidebar. I like that story a lot because thankfully they didn't kill Tenya's brother.
Correct.
But
I
agree. But having him not be a hero anymore, I think, was just as impactful without being
mortal.
The final word on the thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's very interesting, and it's like I also feel like it's kind of neat for a neat device for the writer because I feel like it's one of those things that like maybe down the line they can figure something out and he can become a hero again.
Maybe, or he can just be a really good guy in the chair. I feel like
that's true too.
I feel like this way, Ida still has his motivation and he still has his brother to look up to.
Yes.
It's just a different capacity now that he has to, so it's just another facet added to his relationship that he has to figure out how to overcome and deal with.
That's a story I'd like to see develop
really cool.
more in the show.
Yeah,
that sounds
hopefully
like amazing.
Really, really excellent. So that I like that relationship quite a bit. That was my 4. 3. Sokka and Katara.
Yes.
Excellent brother-sister relationship.
Yeah.
You've got the older brother, Sokka, who's protective.
Oh my gosh.
But kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
And, he loves his sister and he feels protective of her, but she can definitely handle herself a whole lot better than he can.
Yeah.
But I love watching them both grow individually and I'm like, it's often sometimes like not always easy to remember that they're siblings.
Yeah.
Because they're just kind of both just their own characters so much.
Yeah.
And so different because, Katara is a strong girl and she's a waterbender and Sokka's just kind of a moron and he's not a bender.
Yeah.
But
he grows into his own, but
it
takes a while.
He's really cool though. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Skills he learns and he learns but I feel and enjoy the fact that he has a lot of pride, I think, in his sister.
Yeah.
He knows that she's good at what she does.
He loves her very much.
He loves her, and he wants to protect her. And Katara, same. She knows she can call her brother's BS really well.
She's really good about that.
Really well. Yeah, and she's super cool. Obviously, she becomes a great bender. She's really awesome. She has a lot of great little arcs in the show where she becomes better, becomes stronger, learns how to deal with pain and revenge and those types of things. And good, just good. She's a great leader. And I feel like Sokka also sort of becomes a great leader towards the end of it. They're really good siblings, and I enjoy their relationship. I enjoy the way they were portrayed. I felt like it was a very real relationship. So that was really cool. My number 2. Definitely Komui Lee and Lena Lee from D Great Men.
Okay.
Great. So you don't know anything about these because you've not done...
No, I'm sure they're amazing.
You don't D Great Men. They're hilarious. So Komui Lee is the leader of the Black Order in Paris, or wherever it is that they're based. Based. Might have been London at first. I don't know. Wherever they're based, he is the leader of the order in that place. He's the head of the science division, the head of basically everything that's going on. He's the director, whatever it's called. Director of that particular branch.
Is he an older man or a younger man?
No. He's probably later 20s, early 30s.
Cool. Interesting.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's always putting on some kind of experiment. He's always trying to figure something out. He's always got goofy things going on around him. He's always got a desk full of paperwork. He's always got tons of things to do, and he's always busy, and he never sleeps. And he's just manic.
Yeah.
Or nigh unto all the time. And he's like comically protective of Lena Lee, who's his younger sister, who is an exorcist and has so she's reacted to with some innocence. Yeah. And has a weapon. Yeah. She has an equipment.
So he hasn't though.
He's not an exorcist. Okay, he just directs the order. Head of the science division. So in the order, there are exorcists and there's the science division.
Okay.
Science division are people who, because most people in the world, the majority of people can't react with innocence.
Yeah.
So like the number of exorcists is small. But there's plenty of people who know about the work and who want to help protect people from Akuma and yada, yada, yada. Fight against the Earl, and a lot of those people end up being in the science division. So they're running experiments. They are field agents, so they're out and they're looking for Akuma. And when they find one, they have a radio system and they have a force field system. So they set up a force field so they can't be hurt by the Akuma, and they radio in where they are and what their location is, how many Akuma there are, what level they are, things of that nature. Like, hey, we need an exorcist here.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very cool. Cool system. So yeah, Komui is comically protective of Lena Lee and is like against any man that comes anywhere near her, anywhere close to her.
I love it.
Super funny. Very, very anime type brother-sister relationship. Older brother, younger sister relationship.
Yeah.
Super, super funny. Lena Lee's great. She obviously has a thing for Alan, which puts Komui on high alert around Alan, as per usual, or like as if we weren't already on high alert around Alan because of all the strange things about him.
Yeah.
Anyways,
circumstances behind his innocence and his weapon and everything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so, Alan, So anytime Lena Lee is hurt, there's a moment where she gets very hurt. There's a moment where she's attacked, and Komui's just beside himself with grief over her, and like always just it's funny. But I like Komui a lot because he obviously cares about everyone in the Black Order. Everyone around him as are people that he cares about. He's a very good example, I feel, of a good manager.
Yeah.
A good boss.
Yeah.
Cares about people a lot. As well as caring about, their general purpose and goals. Lena Lee is also just very loving.
Mm-hmm.
She cares a lot about people, and oftentimes when we need a realistic or a firm or an emotional reaction to stress or to danger or to the mortality rate amongst exorcists, she's the one we go to, and it's interesting to see that the trait that they share as siblings, I think, is really how much they care about other people and each other. It's cool. It's great.
That's neat.
Komui is mostly comic relief, but he has his moments where he's very, very serious and interesting. And then Lena Lee is just a really BA exorcist. She's super cool, fun to watch. So her innocence is an equipment type, and it's boots that basically, like, imagine Ida's legs from My Hero. Like, they're comparable to that.
Yeah, okay.
To allow her to jump around and move around really quickly, and they're also a way of attacking. So
very cool.
Super fun. Really cool. Anyway, they're great. They're awesome. They were my number 2. My number 1, not surprisingly, comes from my favorite anime. That would be Yu Yu Hakusho. Hiei has a younger sister.
Really? I'm familiar with Hiei.
I want to say her name is Yukina.
Is she a major character in the show, or is she a little bit like Serenity from Firefly, from Yu-Gi-Oh, with Joey's little sister who's
Yukina is her name, yes.
Off camera.
She's comparable to Serenity in that there's an arc where she's really important and she's kind of at the center of it. And then after that, it's kind of kept. She's there.
Yeah,
but she again is sort of a side role.
She's kind of a
side character.
Yeah.
She becomes like Keiko or like,
not Krillin, but all the other characters.
Homeboy's mom. And Botan. There's a point where basically there's like the cheerleading group for. The
I was about to say like in Dragon Ball Z, where it's like not Krillin, but like all the other like weaker characters that basically couldn't beat Krillin in a fight.
Yamcha, Tien.
Yeah. All those people just kind of like watching Bulma, Chi-Chi, yeah. All those characters. The pig dude, I don't know the pig's guy name is.
Right. I forgot his name too. But yeah, it's comparable to that. So yeah, you are aware of Hiei.
Yeah.
Hiei comes from a clan, a group of ice maidens. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Oh, like a Yu-Gi-Oh or something, or
yes,
yeah,
very common. So his younger sister's name is Yukina.
That yeah, That's a little on the nose now that I'm seeing it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if I recall correctly, he was essentially conceived and born under bad circumstances. Under like
taboo circumstances, or
yeah, I think taboo.
Taboo is a good word for it.
He wasn't supposed to exist.
I see.
He was a son born to an ice maiden, and he was essentially like a sort of like a bad omen, seen as like a demon, even though they're all demons because he was born in a demon world. Yeah. But their thing is ice, right? And he was like born in fire.
Huh.
A boy touched by fire. Anyway, but
what the heck?
So his origin is literally all these ice maiden ice people live on this floating ice castle.
Sure.
And his origin, he was born, everybody hated him. He was tossed off of the castle.
Oh my gosh.
Just tossed out, expected to die. Didn't die, was actually fully aware of himself and everything that was going on and all the conversation. He just couldn't speak because he was too small. He was aware of everything. So he was aware that he was thrown off of this castle as a baby. He grew up more or less on his own on the ground.
Interesting.
In the demon world, right. Eventually got back up there
Killed everybody.
Didn't. He
Okay.
just kind of overcame. He kind of made peace with it, kind of dealt with it.
Okay. That's very mature of him.
Learned that he had a sister, Yukina. Ice Maidens have this thing where their tears turn to diamonds.
Huh.
So for one of the arcs in Yu Yu Hakusho, there's a mission they go on where I think at this point Hiei and Kurama are on the team, and someone, I don't know if it's humans or demons or some point, has captured Yukina. It's holding her captive and basically trying to force her to cry so that they can harvest these diamonds from her tears.
Mm-hmm.
Real sad deal.
That's messed up. Yeah.
It's super messed up.
That's not okay.
They save her. So the thing about Yukina is she doesn't know that Hiei is her brother. She just knows that she has a brother.
Okay.
And he's
It's
supposedly...
an interesting dichotomy.
Supposedly has a jewel to match her jewel. I think they both have jewels.
Mm-hmm.
So she's looking for the person that... She's looking for her brother, essentially. It's one of her goals in life. But he never informs her of their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still protective of her.
Yeah. He knows that she's his sister, but she does not know him.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is great, because Kuwabara has the hots for Yukina.
Oh, no.
And that's a thing they deal with in this show. It's
interesting.
Really funny. And Hiei is not okay with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Kuwabara doesn't know why. Because Kuwabara also does not know that Hiei is her older brother.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure by the end of it, the only people that actually know are Kurama and maybe Yusuke, but I'm not even sure if Yusuke does.
Yeah.
I assume he would. But I know Kurama knows for a fact. And like, I don't even think it's ever resolved in the anime. I haven't watched the movie. I probably should, but I'm pretty sure it's
just never...
Like, he just takes that secret to his grave. He's just like,
that's interesting.
Not going to address
That's
this.
nuts.
It's real funny.
That's ridiculous.
I love it. But yeah, no, I like that a lot. I really love Hiei's origin, and I like the way his arc is.
His determination to protect a girl who doesn't know that she's her brother is interesting.
Yeah, his motivations. I love Hiei so much, and when I was younger, I loved him just because he was the BA sort of emo guy of the group, and that was just sort of what I went after and what I liked in characters. But like, his origins are cool. Mm-hmm. He's very determined in what he wants, and he just doesn't kind of take no for an answer. Mm-hmm. He's really freaking cool, and I love the way his story is kind of summed up. He eventually gets a lady friend, kind of, and the way it happens is really cool. She's someone he fights, and he kind of helps, because like he at this point has had a couple moments of enlightenment in his hundreds of years of existence, and he kind of helps her reach her own.
Cool.
And then they're a thing. I hope. It's great.
That's cool.
It's super cool.
That's great.
But anyway, yeah, Hiei and Yukina are brother and sister, but Hiei's just like, she doesn't need to know this. In fact, it's better. I think it's more like he wants her to go on believing that she has a great brother who is a wonderful person. Okay. And he's just like, that's not me. Yeah. So I'm not going to burst that bubble for her, but I will protect her. And that's cool. I just like it a lot. I like Hiei a lot.
That's very cool.
But yeah, I like that relationship.
That dynamic, yeah.
Super cool. Which is no surprise again, because it's coming from my favorite anime. Yeah.
When you were talking about your list, it made me think of some other, I guess, honorable mentions.
Please.
Like, you mentioned Sokka and Katara, and then it immediately made me think of Mako and Bolin from Korra.
Yeah.
They're very
That's
cool.
True.
And then, when you first started getting into one of your earlier ones, I can't remember which one. I don't know what it was, but it made me think of Rukia and Byakuya Kuchiki
Oh,
from Bleach.
yeah, dadgummit, yeah.
Holy crap. But I don't really know much
that.
about their relationship, except that
Right.
Byakuya is kind of a jerk, and I don't know how it
Definitely
developed in
is.
the show. Because it didn't get very much farther than the Soul Society arc, where he's kind of the bad guy of it, so... But maybe it develops. But that was one of those brother-sister relationships that I wanted to know more about. And that was just this thing that it just wasn't happening, so I just... It's one of the reasons I didn't continue Bleach, because it's just like, this is interesting, and everything else you're doing isn't
there's much more past the Soul Society, to be honest with you. Like, once we figure out that, like, it's all kind of been Aizen's doing.
Yeah.
We're just like, what? But,
and it wasn't until you mentioned Hiei that I even thought about Joey and Serenity. Because that was very interesting. But that was, to me, that was kind of a side story, or a tertiary story even.
David, what about Para and Docs?
Para and Docs. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Well, I was originally thinking as a honorable mention the Esperoba and his siblings from the Battle City arc. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's also Para and Docs. I forgot about that.
Para and Docs. Oh.
Yeah.
Can we squeeze any more out, David?
I was thinking of somebody. There's got to be somebody. I know there's somebody in Dragon Ball Z with Gohan and Goten, but I don't really know.
Yeah, let's Gohan and Goten.
I don't really know how their bond doesn't really come out much. If anything,
I'd say
the bond would be between Goten and Trunks, even though they're not really brothers.
I'd say that's an existing bond. I'd say Goku and Vegeta, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Just sort of remaining...
they're basically brothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both being
Goku
same.
has a brother, Raditz.
Yeah, and Raditz was an a-hole.
Yep.
And he didn't come back, but Frieza came back.
Sure did. Frieza's got brothers.
Yep. Frieza's got siblings. Yep. I was also thinking about Naruto, and you mentioned Neji and Hinata before I started.
Right.
But
Itachi and Sasuke.
Itachi and Sasuke. Yeah. Okay, yes. That's another good one. That one's one of I know a lot more people know a lot more about, but I don't because like as far as I ever got in the manga, Itachi was still just kind of like this shadowy person we never really saw.
Truth.
But it's not till later on that you start to understand more of his story and what's going on. Yeah. But here it comes out to a very interesting and dynamic story, but I just never got that far in it. So,
Mew and Mewtwo.
That's true. I didn't even think about Misty and her brothers or her sisters. That's very cool. I didn't even think about them. But yeah. So do our sibling teams fight one another? Is that what the deal is?
Let's go on. Who's up against who? What's your 5?
I have Edward Elric and Alphonse Elric. I've got
no. What's your 5th place?
Oh, 5th place was Blue Exorcist, Rin and Yukio.
Okay, versus Misty and all of her sisters.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, Misty totally wins.
Next, she just like puts out all her fire with her water Pokemon.
Got all that water Pokemon. They got that advantage.
Okay.
What's your 4?
Hikaru and Kadu from Oran versus
the Ida brothers.
The Ida brothers from what again?
From My Hero.
My Hero. Oh yeah.
Tenya and his older brother.
I mean, they could probably like buy out his company or something, and then make him do something.
I mean, I guess that's true.
I mean, like everybody in Oran is supposed to be like richer than God. Like,
yep, absolutely true. Yeah, but Ida totally crushed him. Come on,
right? Come on. His brother's in a wheelchair, so I mean,
it's okay. Push him around real fast,
right? Push him around real fast.
What was your 3?
My 3 was Log Horizon's Toya and Minori.
Okay, versus Katara and Sokka. Yeah. Toya
being a samurai and Minori being a magic user.
Like, that's a fake world. We're talking about the real world where people bend water. Katara all the way.
Alrighty.
And Sokka would throw a boomerang and be like, water trial.
And Toya would just catch it with his armor and bounce off.
What's your 2?
2 is Gurren Lagann, Kamina and Simon in their mechs versus
Kamui Lee and Lena Lee
from D-Grade.
Yeah, nah. I think you got that one.
Do they have enough fighting spirit?
Mech the size of a freaking galaxy.
Right.
Yeah. And then your 1, Edward Elric versus
Alphonse Elric versus Hiei and his sister. Does his sister fight?
She has ice magic.
She has ice magic. Okay.
She could probably do something, but honestly, I think he would probably wreck both of their worlds.
What? Whatever. They fought a flame alchemist and an ice alchemist.
He's not a flame alchemist.
I know. I'm just saying. He
has a dragon.
Whatever.
He'll be fine.
They fought dragons before.
No. I just think. Yeah, no. I just think he has got it.
Okay.
It's just because that matchup just reminds me of like I saw someone post do a poll, I guess, once or sometimes. He was just like, okay, Frieza versus Yusuke, Hiei, and Kurama and all of their peak forms.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, Frieza, but with a little bit of difficulty. And I was like, no.
With a little bit of difficulty. No, Frieza, are you kidding me? No way. No way Frieza wins that fight.
Only because Frieza might actually have more power than them. But although I think
that's debatable.
Yoko Kurama probably has more power.
It's tough to judge the power level with the Dragon Ball Z characters.
It is tough, but I'd say Hiei and Kurama would take him, if not Yusuke. Yusuke probably would handle it, but I think, especially if all three of them are fighting, the thing that Kurama and Hiei have over a lot of other characters is experience, because they're literally centuries old, and they've been fighting for all of that life. Because that's just how demon life is in Yu Yu Hakusho. And so, like, it's just that they could think their way out of any fight. Like, they're just good at fighting.
Yeah.
And unless you have that level of experience with them, doesn't matter how powerful you are.
Yeah.
You're just, like, you're just outmatched.
But see, that's the case I would give to Alphonse and Edward, in that, like, they're not necessarily, it's not necessarily that their kung fu is stronger or their alchemy is more powerful. It's that they're smart kids.
Yeah,
they're really good at
I'm sure
outthinking their opponents. It would be a really cool fight.
That would be sweet.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I think Hiei would kill Edward and then maybe not know how to handle Alphonse. Because his attacks with his shadow dragon thing are fatal. Like, they're bad.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's similar to the Kaioken with Goku. That's his name.
Goku, the Kaioken
puts his body under extreme pressure afterwards, and he's just like, "Oh, my body can hold together, Kaioken times whatever," and things like that. So, like, he in the Dark Tournament, he does it through his arm, and or comparable to Deku.
Deku's
like when he just smash, yes, from one arm, dead. Next arm, dead. That's kind of what Hiei did to himself using this power.
Interesting.
In the Dark Tournament. Ballsy. I love him.
Ballsy.
It's great.
It is pretty ballsy. That's pretty nuts.
He's super cool.
That's the kind of stuff that Alphonse does. Edward does in his fight with his mechanical arm and his mechanical leg. Is he'll put it in harm's way because it can blow up and things like that, and it'll catch people off guard. Because he'll put his arm in front of a dog or whatever, and it'll bite on his arm, but it's just a metal arm. And
like your dumb limb in Sleeping Samurai.
Yeah, exactly.
Stupid.
That's such a weird rule. Yeah, it's an odd rule.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it'd be some cool matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, Toya and Minori are little children. Them fighting Sokka and Katara would be a little unfair. Although, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the scope of Minori's power because she's still leveling up, and so I don't exactly know what a Shrine Maiden can do. So besides, she can heal and shield, and so I don't know.
Do they still have blood in their systems?
I mean, yeah.
Okay, Katara wins.
Not really.
Sure does.
She could only bloodbend it in the full moon.
Look.
She wasn't like all the characters in Korra where they could all just bloodbend whenever they felt like it.
Maybe she gets that way. You don't know her life, dude.
Right? But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gents.
Well, you guys decide.
We will let you decide.
Yes.
You can tell us what matchups work, what matchups don't, and who wins and all that nonsense.
I'll tell you who wins. Brotherhood wins. Aww. Collective. Aww.
So where can people find us
You can check us out on Twitter at TNYKPod. You can email us at thosenerdsyouknowpod@gmail.com. And you can check us out on our Facebook group, Those Nerds You Know, as well as we're on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean. Yeah.
Yep.
Check us out.
Check us out. Give us a nice review if you can. Give a thumbs up, give a like, give a subscribe, all those things.
Yeah.
Comment. Let us know what you think about our choices. Let us know if there are other siblings in anime that you prefer.
Yeah.
That you think are cooler. And let us know who would win.
Preferably not siblings that like each other sexually. That would be preferable.
That's all I want.
No incest.
But yeah, that's it for us, guys. My name is Ethan.
And I'm David.
And we are Those Nerds You Know.
Bye.